Oh man, this is so freaking good. I want to live in this. Hey guys, welcome back to Whiskey on the West Coast. My name is Matt, and today we're covering part 2 of our 2-part series on the best whiskeys of 2022. If you missed the first part, you can find a link right here. Alright, so just a reminder, this list is a list of the best whiskeys that I personally tasted in 2022. It doesn't mean they have to have been released in 2022. It's just that I cracked these bottles in 2022. I've really enjoyed them this year, and they made a real impression upon me. All right, if you want to comment at the end of the video, what was your whiskey of 2022? I'd really like to hear what you guys have for feedback. Let's get into the list. All right, coming in at number 5 on our list of best whiskeys of 2022 is going to be a single malt Scotch whiskey hailing from the islands, from the west coast of Scotland. It is coming to us from Isle of Arran Distillers. It's not specifically this bottle. This is a placeholder because the bottle that I'm actually naming number 5 on this list, I killed my bottle. It is no longer with us. It is gone, and I would like to replace it. The bottle that is number 5 on the 2022 best whiskeys list is the Isle of Arran Distillers 18-year-old single malt Scotch whiskey. Now, the 18-year-old, the new one as of 2019, which is, to my knowledge, 100% sherry matured distillate, as opposed to the older ones which are more ex-bourbon. It comes in a bottle just like this one. It has the Braille on the label. It's actually a really beautiful bottle. That's the one I'm talking of. Again, I believe they changed it in 2019. That whiskey, it's delicious. It is just all like the nose is citrus, it's oak, it's honey, it's fruits. The palate is chocolate, it's spice, it's jammy, stewed fruits. There's stone fruit notes in there, and like a nice like maple syrup thing going on. My bottle cost me about $140 Canadian, which is for an 18-year-old single malt Scotch whiskey. It's a phenomenal price. Arran continues to knock things out of the park continuously over and over again. And if you followed Roy Aquavite's and Ralphie's initiative with the online Scotch Whisky Awards, the OSWAs, Arran 10 has outperformed almost everything else. It's really an astounding bottle. And I think the 18-year-old just takes it up a notch. I think it's one or two or three notches better. The 18-year-old, I think, is kind of the perfect whiskey in the Arran lineup. Number 5 on my list, Arran 18-year-old. You should check that whiskey out. All right, coming in number 4 on our list of best whiskeys of 2022 is a whiskey hailing from Islay. Now, Islay is near and dear to my heart. They're some of my favorite whiskeys, and this one really made an impression on me. It's coming from one of the newest distilleries on Islay. It is in fact from Killoman. It's the Killoman Single Farm Single Malt 100% Islay Barley 10th edition. Now this whiskey is coming in at 50% ABV. It is at 20 phenol parts per million for the peat content on the barley. And as I mentioned, it's 100% Islay barley. It was all grown on the farm at Killoman. Rockside Farms is my understanding of the name of the farm. Non-chill filtered, natural color. The barrel composition on this, if you check out the hang tag that comes with it, it's mainly ex-bourbon barrel casks and with a couple of Oloroso sherry butts thrown in the mix. It's really well balanced, and the tasting notes on it, like you know that you get citrus, you get grilled pineapple, barbecue, this big campfire note, salt spray, and then when you throw over to the palate, it's thick, it's mouth coating, it's oily, it's viscous. The salinity comes through. There's this sort of smoked barbecue note still there, but then you get these like sweet hard candies on the palate, and the earth comes back in. There's a bit of pepper, but still like a really satisfying mouthfeel. I find that you get a lot of tropical fruit notes on the Islay barleys as well. And I think they're just something that's truly unique. It's something that's a bit different. It's really special. And in particular, I am searching the Isla Barleys from Kilchoman out. Any Isla Barley single casks, the Isla Barley edition that comes out every year. I think they're the best thing that comes out of Kilchoman. Their Sannig, their Mackier Bay releases, they're a little bit different. They use Port Ellen malt, something closer to like an Ardbeg spec for peat. They're about 50 phenol parts per million. Like I said, this is 20. It's more moderately peated because they are actually, they grow the barley themselves and then they floor malt it themselves. And that's why it's not the same 50 ppm that you're used to with most Kilchoman bottlings. It's a little lower. And I think the character that is derived from it and the uniqueness that's derived from it, I think it's a stunner. It's a showstopper. Kilchoman, Isla Barleys, check them out. 10th edition right here. It's a knockout. Okay, guys, we've arrived at the midpoint of our list of the best whiskeys of 2022. We're at number 3. And coming in at number 3 is some of the best stuff that Billy Walker has made in a long time. We're talking Glenallachie. We're talking Glenallachie 10-year-old cask strength batch 5. Now, you might be thinking, batch 5, you're way behind the times. We've got batch 7 and batch 8 now. Yeah, I know. But I'm not drinking through these as fast as some other people. I have tried Glenallachie 10 cask strength batch 2, batch 4, batch 5, and batch 6. And really, batch 2 is the only one I didn't get along with. Batch 4 was phenomenal. Batch 5 is quite possibly just as good. And batch 6, I need to crack a bottle and actually get familiar with a bit more than just an actual sample. But batch 5 is drinking real nice right now. I only have the one bottle. I don't want to go through it too quick because it's that good. It's a mixture of PX, Olorosa, Rioja, Spanish wine casks, and virgin oak. It's 55.9% alcohol, non-chill filtered, natural color. You'll find that is a consistent theme on this list. Integrity malts all the way. Ralphie would be proud, I hope. And Billy Walker it's another Billy Walker banger, is what it is. He knows what he's doing. People love it. I love it. I get some pepper notes, chili, heat, espresso roast, chocolate, orange, like a mocha thing going on, raisin, dates, dark fruits, and some oak and leather on the finish. You know what you're gonna get from these Glenallachie 10 cask strengths, and they bring it in spades. And it's a great price, about $125. I mean, you can't go wrong. Number 3, solidly on this list. Glenallachie 10-year-old cask strength, batch 5. Getting down to the nitty gritty on the list, this is number 2 on the best whiskeys of 2022. It's hailing from Campbelltown, and no, it is not Springbank. I'm not going to name Springbank one of my best whiskeys of 2022 because we can't get it. It's nowhere to be found. You have to do horrible, horrible things to get Springbank in my area these days. Yeah, I'm not going to name it that, and I'm not going to start someone on that chase. I'm going to name something you can get, and that's going to be hailing from the Glengyle Distillery. It's Kilkerran 12-year-old single malt Scotch whiskey. Now, Kilkerran, again, it's hailing out of the Glengyle Distillery in Campbelltown. It was shuttered for about 79 years, and it came roaring back to life in 2004. Why? Well, the SWA, the Scotch Whisky Association, in all its infinite wisdom, decided to say, hey, Campbelltown, you only have 2 distilleries. You don't get to be an official region of the single malt of Scotland anymore. And Campbelltown said, hold that thought. The owner of Springbank at the time said, you know, Lowland is still a region. It only has 3 distilleries in operation. So if we get a 3rd distillery on board, we can have a regional status back. Thus was born the idea to resurrect Glengyle Distillery. So in 2004, we started pumping this liquid out. Now, the first year we actually got the 12-year-old was 2016. That was its first bottling, and things have been going strong ever since. I first tried Kilkerran 12-year-old in 2018 at the Irish Heather in Vancouver, and it was a revelation. I got my first bottle in 2019, and I've been drinking Kilkerran 12 ever since. It is absolutely delicious. It always delivers on the price you pay. Typically, I've been able to get it for about $70 to $80 Canadian. It's a little bit higher now as it's getting more popular. People can't find Springbank. They're going to this instead because it's made by Springbank. It is Springbank floor malted barley. It's made in very much the same sort of way, old methods, small batch produced. Their top capacity is 750,000 liters a year, exactly the same as Springbank. Long fermentations, wooden washbacks. It's just an expertly made, handcrafted, traditional whiskey. All this to say, we got 70% ex-bourbon in there, 30% sherry, and the flavors. I always get cantaloupe. I get this light peat peaches. It's oily. It's well balanced. A lot of tropical maritime notes. And it's a whiskey that grows on you more and more. When I first cracked my bottle, it was a little tight. I was just getting to know it. And once it dropped below the shoulders, it was dynamite. I never want to be without Kilkerran 12. It's something I always want to have on my shelf because it's just a comfort whiskey. You pour and you play, and it's there for the ride. I love this whiskey. Number 2 on the list, Kilkerran 12-year-old. We're just about to get to my number 1 whiskey of 2022, but first we got to touch on an honorable mention. Now, if you watched my Christmas gift list for single malt Scotch whiskey lovers, you'd be familiar with this whiskey. And I haven't made it my number 1 whiskey of the year for the reason that it's been getting a lot of praise. And I don't think the online whiskey community should be an echo chamber where the same opinion gets shared over and over again. And it's well worth drinking and buying a bottle of this whiskey. And if you watch the online Scotch Whisky Awards with Roy and Ralphie, they did a fantastic job, by the way. You would have seen this whiskey win Best Whiskey of the Year. So without further ado, I'm going to just mention our honorable mention, which is the Glen Scotia Victoriana Single Malt Scotch Whiskey. It's a great whiskey. I love it. Find out more by clicking the link right here to my Christmas list. Thanks for sticking with me until this part of the video. I really appreciate that. Without further ado, let's get to our number 1 whiskey of 2022. All right, it is by Bruichladdich Distilling. I love Bruichladdich. They're one of my favorite distillers. I love what they've done since they were resurrected in 2001. And what they distilled here, they actually started distilling in 2002. It is their super heavily peated spirit. And it's actually a little bit older version of it. So without further ado, my number 1 whiskey of 2022 is the Bruichladdich Octomore 10-year-old single malt Scotch whiskey 3rd edition. Now, this is a beast of a whiskey. Now, Octomore, super heavily peated. The peatiest whiskeys in the world when you get to the ones that are up into the 300 plus ppm range. This one here is a bit lower. It is in and around, I'm just going to look at the label to make sure I'm telling you the right thing here, 167 ppm. It is 56.8% cask strength whiskey. It's non-chill filtered, natural color, again, consistent with that throughout. This was distilled in 2008, bottled in 2018. Most Octomores are 5 years old, maybe 6 or 7. Some are as young as 3 if you're looking at some of the 0.4s. So a 10-year-old Octomore is an entirely different beast. Octomore itself, though, it isn't just about the super heavy phenolics with it. They use tall stills at Bruichladdich. They also make very narrow cuts on Octomore to make sure, with it being so heavily peated, that they get spirit that actually still tastes good coming off their stills. And this 10-year-old, the cask makeup of it is really interesting too. It's about 30% first fill port pipes. It's another 30% first fill cognac casks. They have a good proportion of second fill American whiskey casks on top of that too. Really interesting vatting there. I love Bruichladdich, as I mentioned. I love what Jim McEwen did. I love what Adam Hannett's done since Jim left. He's kind of putting his own trademark on the distillery. And this whiskey's special to me for another reason. I opened this in 2022, actually, the moment that the Canadian men's national soccer team punched their ticket to the Qatar World Cup. It's the first time in my lifetime that they actually made it to the World Cup. The last time they made it was 1986. I was over the moon. I was so excited. I had to crack into this bad boy in celebration. So I might be a little biased. It has some memories attached to it for me. But let's talk about what it tastes like. This Octomore is robust. It's elegant. It is, even with like the brute force of 167 ppm, it isn't all just peat blast in your face. It is not just the brute force of nature that Octomore typically is with the 0.1s and the 0.3s. It's rich. You get chocolate notes from those port pipes. You get leather and campfire, bonfire all over it. Again, typical for Octomore, but just more refined, more rounded over, and better integrated. The balance is a lot more on point with this third edition of the 10-year-old. I get a lot of tobacco, earth, spice, molasses. It's there's some real elegance here and a genuine complexity, which makes me wonder what would Octomore be with another 5 years, up to 15 years old. And there are some independent bottles that I think are getting up near that range or past it. It isn't as peaty, it isn't as smoky as some of those younger bottles. The younger ones are more of that peat blast, but if you want something that has more to it and a lot more to discover, and I think it's just a more pleasant drink, the Octomore 10-year-old 3rd edition, it's my best whiskey 2022. It's worth it. It is, it's a stunner, and I'm going to enjoy this bottle right down to the last drop, and I'm going to share it with whoever will drink it with me. So with that, I'm going to pour one out. To all you guys who have stayed with me till the end of this video, come to the end of the year. So just wanted to wish you a happy new year. So long to 2022, and all the best in 2023. Comment down below what is the best whiskey you tried in 2022, and come back for more. Like, share, subscribe, and until next time, sláinte.